I want you to think about your life right now. Not the version you post on social media, not the version you describe when someone asks how things are going. I mean the real version, the one you think about at 2 a.m. when the house is quiet and your mind won't turn off. The bills that are a little higher than you'd like, the savings account that never seems to grow, the credit card balance you keep meaning to pay off. Now, I want you to imagine that one thing goes wrong. Not a catastrophe, not a war, not a stock market crash, just one thing. Your transmission dies. Your employer downsizes. You trip getting out of the shower and end up in the ER. For most Americans, and I mean most, not some, that one thing is enough. Enough to trigger a chain reaction, a missed payment, then two, then the calls start. Then the math stops working, and suddenly a life that looked completely stable from the outside starts to come apart from the inside. The Federal Reserve has been tracking this for years, and what they keep finding is the same uncomfortable truth. Nearly 4 in 10 Americans cannot cover an unexpected $400 expense without borrowing money or selling something they own. Not $4,000, not $40,000, $400. The cost of a car repair, a copay, a broken phone screen. And here's the part that keeps me up at night. Most of those people have no idea how close they are. They're going to work, they're paying their bills on time, mostly. They look totally fine. They look like your neighbor. They look like your coworker. They look like you. Today, I'm going to walk you through 5 specific forces that are quietly pushing millions of ordinary Americans toward a cliff they can't even see. We're counting down from 5 to 1, and I'm telling you right now, by the time we get to number 1, you are going to understand something about this country that most people spend their entire lives never figuring out. Don't close this video, especially don't close it before number 2, because number 2 is hiding inside something that's supposed to protect you, and most people never see it coming. Let's go. Number 5. The 6-figure illusion. Why making good money no longer means you're safe. Let me destroy something you probably believe right now. You probably believe that if you earn enough money, if you just get to a certain income level, you'll be financially safe. You'll stop worrying. You'll have breathing room. That belief is one of the most dangerous myths in America today. A Lending Club survey found that 61% of Americans, including people earning over $100,000 a year, are living paycheck to paycheck. 6 figures, paycheck to paycheck. How does that happen? Think about what life actually looks like at $100,000 a year. After federal and state taxes, you're taking home maybe $72,000 to $78,000 depending on where you live. That sounds like a lot. But then comes the mortgage on the house you had to buy in a market where prices doubled in 5 years, 2 car payments because public transportation in most of America is a joke, student loans that have been bleeding you for a decade, childcare that costs more per month than most people's rent, groceries that are 30% more expensive than they were 4 years ago, health insurance premiums you can't negotiate. By the time every fixed cost is paid, there's almost nothing left, and anything that's left goes straight onto a credit card for the unexpected things life keeps throwing at you. So here's what this actually means in practice. The paycheck-to-paycheck trap is no longer a poverty problem. It has moved all the way up the income ladder, silently, invisibly. The nice SUV driving family? Paycheck to paycheck. The coworker with the big house in the suburbs? Paycheck to paycheck, and probably put it on a card. The lifestyle looks successful. The finances underneath it look nothing like the lifestyle. And the danger isn't just that there's nothing left over to save. The danger is that when you're living with zero buffer, when every dollar coming in has already been claimed before it arrives, you have no shock absorber. You are one event away from a cascade that could take years to recover from. But here's what I need you to understand before we move on. What I just described, that's the mild version. Because what's waiting for us at number 4 is something that has already financially destroyed people who did everything right, had the job, had the insurance, paid their premiums every month, and still ended up buried in debt through absolutely no fault of their own. And the number I'm about to give you is going to shock you. Number 4. The hospital bill that follows you for a decade. Think about someone in your life for a moment. Do you know someone, a family member, a friend, someone in your neighborhood, who was doing okay financially, and then something medical happened, and afterward they were never quite okay again? I'm guessing you do. Most people do. Because medical debt is now the single largest cause of personal bankruptcy in the United States. Not gambling losses, not reckless spending, not bad investments. Going to the hospital. And what makes this so infuriating is that the people it destroys are not the people who ignored their health or skipped their insurance. The people it destroys are the ones who did exactly what they were told to do. They got a job with benefits. They enrolled in the health insurance plan. They paid their premiums every single month, even when it felt like a lot of money for something they weren't using. And then, they needed it. And that's when they found out what American health insurance actually does, which is absorb some of the cost after you've already paid thousands of dollars yourself first. The average deductible on employer-sponsored health insurance in America is now over $1,700 for a single person. For a family, you're looking at well above $3,500, and in many plans, significantly higher. That deductible has to be paid before insurance covers almost anything. So, you end up in the emergency room, you have insurance, you followed the rules, and you still walk out with a bill for $2,000, $3,000, sometimes $5,000 that is entirely your responsibility before your coverage kicks in. For the tens of millions of Americans living with no financial cushion, a bill like that isn't just stressful, it's catastrophic. But the bill itself isn't even the worst part. The worst part is what that bill does to the rest of your financial life after you can't pay it in full. Medical debt gets reported to credit bureaus, your credit score drops, and the moment your credit score drops, suddenly everything else in your life gets more expensive. Your car insurance rate goes up, your chances of getting approved for housing go down, your ability to refinance anything evaporates. One ambulance ride, one unexpected surgery, and the financial damage can shadow you for 7 to 10 years. In virtually every other wealthy country on Earth, this doesn't happen. A medical emergency is a health event, not a financial sentence. But in America, a health crisis and a financial crisis are the exact same crisis, and millions of people are finding that out the hard way every single year. Now, I need you to stay with me, because reality number 3 is the one that hits people who thought they had a plan. People who worked their whole lives assuming that there was a finish line, a point where they could finally exhale. What I'm about to tell you is that for millions of Americans, that finish line was never real, and they're about to find out. The retirement lie America has been telling for 40 years. I want you to take a guess at something. The people in America closest to retirement age, people between 55 and 64, people who have been working and contributing for 30 or 40 years, what do you think the median retirement savings looks like for that group? Think about your number before I tell you. Ready? $134,000. That's it. The middle of the road for Americans on the doorstep of retirement, not the bottom, the median, which means half of people in that age group have even less. And financial advisors are consistent on one thing. A comfortable retirement in America today requires somewhere between $1 million and $1.5 million in savings, depending on where you live and how long you live. The gap between $134,000 and $1 million is not a gap, it's a chasm. And for tens of millions of Americans, there is no bridge across it. So what's the backup plan? For most people, it's the same answer: Social Security. But Social Security was never designed to be a retirement plan. It was designed to be a supplement, a floor, not a ceiling. The people who built it in 1935 assumed it would sit on top of a pension and personal savings, not replace them entirely. Today, nearly half of older Americans rely on Social Security as their primary or only source of income in retirement. The average monthly benefit is roughly $1,900. In most American cities, $1,900 doesn't cover rent. In New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Chicago, Seattle, $1,900 barely covers a third of the monthly expenses a retired person needs to live with any dignity. So what happens? People don't retire. They keep working into their late 60s and 70s, not because they want to, but because they cannot afford to stop. Or they move in with adult children, upending 2 households at once. Or they make the quiet, painful cuts. Skip the medication that's too expensive. Turn the heat down. Stop going to the doctor unless something is seriously wrong. And here's what makes this so deeply unfair. These are not people who are reckless. These are people who were told a specific story for 40 years. Work hard, show up, stay loyal to your employer, and at the end of it, you'll be taken care of. But somewhere along the way, the deal changed. Pensions disappeared and got replaced with 401ks, which shifted the entire burden of investment risk onto workers who were never trained to be their own fund managers. Wages stagnated for 20 years while the cost of everything else climbed. Healthcare consumed a larger and larger share of whatever was left over, and the people who followed all the rules ended up holding a bag that was nearly empty. This is not a personal failure. This is a broken promise at the institutional level, dressed up very neatly as individual responsibility. But I need you to hold on, because we're not done. Because underneath the retirement crisis, underneath the medical debt, underneath the paycheck-to-paycheck trap, there's a system actively making all of it worse. A machine designed not to help Americans build wealth, but to extract it. And number 2 is going to show you exactly how that machine works and why it almost never lets go. Number 2, the debt machine. Why the system is specifically built to keep you trapped. I want you to see a number. Just sit with this number for a moment. $17.5 trillion. That is the total household debt carried by Americans right now. Credit cards, student loans, auto loans, mortgages, medical bills, buy now, pay later balances. All of it stacked together. $17.5 trillion. To give you a sense of scale, that is more than the entire annual GDP of every country on Earth except the United States and China. It is a number almost too large to mean anything, until you realize that it isn't an abstraction. It's sitting on the kitchen tables of real families right now in every single state in this country. And here's the thing most people misunderstand about debt. They think of it as a number they owe, a thing they'll pay off eventually, a temporary condition. It isn't. It's a machine, and the machine runs on you. Let me show you what I mean with credit cards specifically. The average credit card interest rate in America is now above 20%. Some cards are charging 27%, 28%, 29% interest annually on carried balances. When you only make the minimum payment, which millions of Americans do because it's all they can afford, the math becomes brutal. On a $5,000 balance at 20% interest, making only minimum payments, you will spend over 17 years paying that debt off. And by the time it's done, you will have paid nearly $8,000 for something that originally cost you $5,000. That's not a bug in the system. That's the point. Minimum payments are engineered to keep you paying for as long as possible while barely reducing the principal. The credit card company doesn't want you to pay it off. They want you to carry it forever, if possible. Now add student loan debt into that picture. $1.7 trillion sitting on the backs of people who were handed a contract at 18 years old, before most of them could legally rent a car, and told that this was simply the price of entry into the American economy. Many of them have been paying for 10, 15, 20 years and still owe more than they originally borrowed. Then, watch what happens when someone in a debt spiral faces one of those unexpected events we talked about earlier. The medical bill, the job loss, the car repair. They can't absorb it with savings because there are no savings, so they put it on the card. The balance goes up. The interest compounds faster. They miss a payment, the penalty rate kicks in, their credit score drops, and now every other financial product in their life, their insurance, their future loans, their ability to rent, gets more expensive. The spiral accelerates, and most people, by the time they feel it accelerating, are already deep inside it. Think about your own situation for a moment. If your income fell by 20%, not disappeared, just dropped 20% for 6 months, what would you do? Could you make it work, or would something have to break? Be honest with yourself, because the answer to that question tells you something important about where you actually stand. But I want to tell you something right now. Everything we've talked about, the paycheck-to-paycheck trap, the medical debt, the retirement gap, the debt machine, these are real and they're serious, but they're not the deepest problem. The deepest problem is number 1, and it's the reason millions of people will watch this video, nod along, and still not change anything. Because number 1 is not happening in your bank account. It's happening in your mind.
Number 1, the mind trick that keeps you calm while the floor gives way. Here's something I need you to really hear. Right now, as you're watching this, there is a part of your brain that has been quietly explaining away everything I just said. It said, the 4 and 10 stat, that's other people. It said, the retirement numbers, but I still have time. It said, the debt spiral, I'm managing mine okay. And here's the thing, that voice isn't stupid, it isn't lazy, it's doing exactly what the human brain is designed to do. Psychologists call it optimism bias, the deeply wired tendency to believe that you personally are less vulnerable to bad outcomes than other people are, that the statistics applied to the crowd, not to you specifically. And for most of human history, this bias was useful. It gave people the courage to take risks, to start things, to keep going through difficulty. But in the context of modern American financial life, this bias is a trap because it is the exact mechanism that keeps people from acting until it's too late. Studies have confirmed this pattern repeatedly. People consistently overestimate their savings, underestimate their debt, and dramatically underestimate how fast a financial situation can deteriorate. Not because they're not smart, because the brain is wired to protect our current sense of stability, even when that stability is an illusion. And here's the layer underneath that, which is what makes this so sinister. The entire consumer economy is built on this bias. The credit card companies know about it. The banks know about it. The buy now, pay later platforms know about it. Every product designed to keep you spending money you don't have is calibrated to your brain's natural tendency to believe that things will work out, that future you will figure it out. Future you. Always future you. But future you is just you, with less time and more debt. This is the invisible force that holds everything else together. This is why people who understand intellectually that they're in a fragile financial position still don't change their behavior, because the brain keeps whispering that it's okay, that the crisis is somewhere out there, not in here. And that whisper, that specific whisper, is the sound of millions of Americans standing one step from losing everything and having absolutely no idea.
So let's put all 5 together. You have a country where the majority of working people, including people earning 6 figures, have no financial cushion, where a single hospital visit can follow a family for a decade, where the generation that followed every rule is facing a retirement that barely exists, where a debt machine is specifically designed to make sure people never quite get out, and where the human brain, your brain, is wired to look at all of that and quietly conclude, not me, I'm fine. These 5 forces aren't separate problems. They are one system. They feed each other. They reinforce each other. And they are working right now, today, in the background of ordinary American life. While most people are focused on their next paycheck, their next bill, their next weekend. Now I want to ask you something I genuinely want you to answer in the comments. Not for me, for yourself. If you woke up tomorrow and your income was gone, not reduced, gone, how many months could your household survive before something fundamental broke? Your housing, your transportation, your ability to buy groceries. Don't give me the answer you wish were true. Give me the real one. 1 month, 3 months, less than 30 days? Because that number is your actual financial position, not the number in your head, not the version you tell someone at a dinner party. The real one. Drop it in the comments. I read every single one. And while you're thinking about that, I want to tell you something that might change the frame entirely. A growing number of Americans looked at exactly these 5 realities and made a decision that used to seem extreme and now seems like common sense. They left. Not forever, in most cases. But they restructured their financial lives outside of the American system. They found countries where healthcare doesn't cost them everything they own, where a social security check goes 3 times as far, where the cost of being alive doesn't demand that you ear